Went out last postseason, the back end of the Timberwolves, the games against the Timberwolves in the playoffs, he did his thing. So you're developing this young stud who, to me, has an all-NBA type ceiling. What is the problem? Every coach that I've seen, all-time greats have adjusted. Whether that was Greg Popovich, whether that was, Rick Carlisle, they all made adjustments to this new era and these new guys in the NBA. That's what the Warriors need to do. They need to value this young man because he's elite. He has an elite upside.
Well, it's not that the Warriors don't value Jonathan Kuminga, right? Obviously, if they didn't value him, they would have just gotten rid of him this offseason and in whatever sign and trade they could do. The problem that the Warriors have with Jonathan Kuminga, that Jonathan Kuminga has with the Warriors, is that it's just a very awkward fit. As we saw in that clip, or in those numbers there, Jonathan Kuminga put up big numbers with Steph Curry out of the lineup. But if you have Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler dominating the ball, that means Jonathan Kuminga needs to fill in the gaps and do some smaller things for them, which are things he has been very inconsistent with and has struggled with at times. And playing a smaller role has been an issue with the Warriors and Jonathan Kuminga going forward. It's why the Jonathan Kuminga situation, to Perk's point, has not played out in the way he and the Warriors would like. But at the same time, we're also looking at a restricted free agent market where there is no salary cap space available, so sign and trades are hard. Yeah, both the Kings and Suns have interest, as Sean's put it out earlier, but both of those teams don't have salary cap space to offer Jonathan Kuminga to sign him, so they have to send money back to Golden State that Golden State is not interested in taking back. So all of this, I think, points toward Jonathan Kuminga signing a short-term deal with Golden State at some point this summer that both gives them the ability to do something with him later and also gives them the ability to build on that play he had at the end of that postseason without Steph on the court, which, to Perk's point, showed what he can do and gives them, I think, some reason to come into next season if he's there saying, we need to try to find a way to showcase what this guy can do, either so we can have him improve with us or we can have him improve us by moving him into trade somewhere else.
Value depends on so much, right? Like, value depends what team you're on. What does the market look like? So, David, what is Jonathan Kuminga's actual value in free agency and on this Warriors team?
Well, that's the tricky thing, right? I mean, for the Warriors, I think that they have to figure this Jonathan Kuminga thing out because that is the difference between being sort of in the middle of this, log jam at the bottom of the Western Conference or being an actual contender. Like, I think that they have, that zero moves is alarming for some people, but
okay, am I on 3 and 4?
Horford's probably coming. And then you have the idea that Kuminga is going to, you cannot have a gaping hole of Jonathan Kuminga not being on this team or whatever they're trying to get back from it. The problem is, as Tim has alluded to, this team was 0-7 in the playoffs when he played more than 20 minutes. What his value is to the Golden State Warriors is that they need a guy who can fill in those gaps, who can get those rebounds, who can play defense, who can fill in different positions. He has not quite been able to do that, and part of that is Steve Kerr, as Perk said, has been pulling the plug on Kuminga a little bit too early and not allowing him to fit into that. So the mix has been really kind of a mess, and Steve Kerr really has to take on the leadership and say, how can I figure out this Kuminga situation this year? Because, again, he is the difference between giving a little bit of more room in this window for the Warriors this season and this thing being another early exit for him.
Well, speaking of the Warriors championships, we always, with dynasties, talk about windows, right? So, Kendrick Perkins, is their championship window still open?
It's still open. I believe it's still there. Anytime you have Steph Curry, you have Jimmy Butler. We saw how they elevated their game last postseason before the injuries happened. And Draymond Green, he still has the ability to be, a great defender and anchor that defense. I love what I saw out of Podziemski last postseason. I thought towards the end of the season and the postseason, he started to grow. But again, this Jonathan Kuminga space, this Jonathan Kuminga situation, you need a guy like this. You need athleticism at the wing position. When you look at the top two teams, in my eyes, in the Western Conference, you're looking at Oklahoma City Thunder. Obviously, they just won the NBA championship. And then you're looking at the Houston Rockets. They keep loading up on the wing position. I ain't talking about Buffalo Wild Wings. I'm talking about bodies. That's how important it is. The athleticism is the most important position in the damn NBA, and they have a guy in Jonathan Kuminga, as David just alluded to, that could move the needle for them to take them over the hump if they just embrace him.
The problem with the Warriors having a championship window, the problem with anybody else, even including the Houston Rockets having a championship window in the West, is because there's a team that just won 68 games and won the title in the West that had 2 players older than 27 on their roster. So I think there's a very small window for just about anybody in the West to win a title right now, including Golden State. However, the Warriors did go 22-5 with Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry down the stretch. They do have a very high ceiling. Steph has always given the Thunder a lot of trouble. If they can get to the playoffs healthy, I do think they have a chance to make a run. But again, right now, to me, it's Oklahoma City and everybody else out West.
Yeah, that window is closing very fast, but there's 2 little light-skinned hands right there on the window pane keeping it open. That's Steph Curry. The fact that this dude is still a top 5 player in this league. And you got to remember, as you said at the very beginning, he is 1 hamstring injury away possibly from being in that conference finals against that Thunder team. I am not going to be doing anything that counts this dude out, but the Warriors need to figure some of these things out in the margins to make it as possible as they can for him to end his career making a few playoff runs.
One other real quick thing to add. At some point this offseason, now that Jonathan Kuminga thing gets sorted out, I think it's very likely Al Horford winds up with Golden State Warriors. He will help them an awful lot whenever that move gets done, assuming everything gets cleared up with Jonathan Kuminga.
My guy Perk looked confused by BDJ's point. Perk, do you disagree?
Vanessa, let's go to commercial because David just said that Steph Curry is still. David just said that Steph Curry is a top 5 player in the NBA, and Tim said it's Oklahoma City and everybody else. Like the Rockets just didn't get Kevin Durant. They finished second in the Western Conference last year.
Well, I think the Rockets
without Kevin Durant, and now the Rockets have Kevin Durant. Trust me, I hear you.
Rockets are going to be quite good. Don't worry. Let's not doubt.
All right, coming up, it is extension season, but not ever.
Hello, xin chào tất cả mọi người. Hôm nay mình sẽ hướng dẫn các bạn gấp một cây xương rồng như thế này nhá. Bây giờ các bạn vào làm cùng mình luôn nhé. Rồi, ok. Để bắt đầu vào làm thì các bạn sẽ chuẩn bị cho mình những dụng cụ như sau. Ở đây mình có chuẩn bị 2 tờ giấy có 2 màu khác nhau. Đó là màu xanh lá và màu cam này. Tiếp theo các bạn sẽ chuẩn bị cho mình một cái bút chì, một cây kéo, một cái thước, cuối cùng là một cây súng bắn keo như thế này nha. Rồi bây giờ mình sẽ hướng dẫn các bạn vào làm luôn nhé. Các bạn sẽ lấy cho mình cái bút chì và thước kẻ, đo cho mình kích thước của cái tờ giấy màu xanh lá này. Nó sẽ là 14 cm nha. Rồi bây giờ mình sẽ kẻ nó thành một cái ô vuông nhé. Rồi bây giờ mình sẽ dùng cây kéo này để mình cắt cái ô vuông này ra nhá. Rồi bây giờ các bạn sẽ gấp Rồi sau khi gấp xong các bạn sẽ gấp tiếp phần bên dưới này vào cho mình. Rồi mình sẽ gấp tiếp phần bên này vào. Tiếp theo các bạn sẽ